Now, at the last executive meeting in Ipswich, there was a bit about planning, and as you may have guessed, I've stolen some clips from Ipswich Spy. Well, I didn't go there, so I've stolen some clips of Ipswich Spy, the planning, when they were talking about planning in Ipswich at the executive. The only bits that I've actually bothered with are the questions asked by Councillor Cenci, the Conservative group leader, and the replies, and I shall give some commentary to them.
Councillor Cenci.
Thank you, Chair. As Councillor Jones says, we're going to have ample opportunity to talk about this, so you'll be pleased to know I'm not going to go on in length, but I do have 4 or 5 questions. Do you want me to do them all in one go?
Can I just get a go? Can we do them one at a time? One at a time.
Okay. The first one is we do not support a 2-tier affordable housing programme, one that reduces affordable housing to 15% outside of the Ipswich Garden suburb, and we don't support 35% on the Ipswich Garden suburb. Can I ask if the consultation shows that people are not happy with that either, and perhaps would like to see it more at 25%, say, where that would bring 600 more social housing? Would we change our policy, or are we going to stick to what we've got in the policy? That's the first one.
Okay, Mr. Holmes.
Yeah, Councillor Jones.
Mr. Holmes.
Okay, I mean the affordable need is above 35% still. The reason it's been lowered is because of the whole plan viability work, which said that sites over 15% outside of the garden suburb would not be viable for affordable housing. So that's the reason why it's been lowered.
No, I knew why it had been lowered. The question is, would we change it if consultation shows that they agree with the Conservative group's stance on this?
So I'm not quite clear what you're proposing, that we raise it to 25% outside of the northern fringe?
No, just a flat rate right across.
Despite the fact that we've got a viability study that says that if we insist on 25% outside the northern fringe, then it won't get built.
Yeah, well, other towns have got 40%, 30%, so I don't see why we should be blackmailed. I'm surprised at this administration, because I know how passionate you are about it.
Chair, may I?
That would give us 600, at least 600 more houses if we had a flat rate right across the board.
Mr. Hobbs, do you want to explain the viability assessment that's been undertaken?
That would be useful, thank you.
Sure. The viability assessment will be published alongside the consultation as a form of evidence base. Different areas have different land values. Land values in Ipswich are low, so that's why the 15% is there. I take your point about the 25%, and it's disappointing that 15% is what the viability study is saying, but the danger is if we say 25% and go to examination, the plan could be found unsound on the basis that 25% is not deliverable.
I don't understand why it is on the Ipswich Garden suburb and as high as 35%.
Because on the Ipswich Garden suburb it's currently farmland and it's got a low resisting use value, and also because it's in the higher value area of the borough, the revenues to be received would be high.
Now, there's a couple of things with that. I mean, the thing is, the northern suburb, it shouldn't be higher, because basically it's in an expensive part of town, and what this administration wants to do is actually have less expensive houses there to actually lower the tone of the area and have Labour voters in St Margaret's. Everything they do is for political reasons, so that's basically why they're doing that there. So, and also Councillor Cenci's point is right, and we could have 30 or 40% across the town rather than in specific areas. Right, now do I go to the next question?
We support the contraction of the town centre from the east, but we also believe it should include the west, and again it's going against a report, but we should be doing what we think is right. And we feel that the centre part should be, nice and simple and attractive and smaller. Because of internet shopping and other things, it would be much better if it was residential on both sides with leisure. People are crying out for leisure in the town centre, and then you get that footfall naturally from residential areas going into the town centre. So again, I think we should just disregard what has been said. We feel quite passionately about this. and I just don't see a shop ending up in the Westgate area either. So again, if the consultation shows that people agree with that, are we willing to change the core strategy?
Chair, I would just say, you know, any local authority, any executive gets expert consultations and has to rely on what can be demonstrably shown to be a reliable evidence base. 6 people saying what they'd like somewhere in the town centre does not form a reliable evidence base. In our position, you would have commissioned a report, you would have considered it, and because it is, you know, a report by experts, you would have, and you have done when you were in power, accepted it. Because that is the sensible and reliable thing to do. If we could begin from the beginning, now that people are internet shopping, and what we want is a very little town centre with all the shops where we want them, and the shops selling the things that we want, then we'd all have that, wouldn't we? We'd wave a magic wand and we'd have it, but we don't. What we have is a town centre in transition. Town centres have always changed, and this is no different now, and we are doing our best using planning policies to deal with.
Now, the thing is, the town centre at present is dying, and they are not bothered, and they're kind of carrying on with these policies that are encouraging our town centre to die. And so, I mean, I just can't understand why Councillor Jones was being so patronising to Councillor Cenci over this and failing to answer the question. I mean, the town centre does need to be made smaller, and there needs to be more leisure facilities and housing within the town centre. It's the only way for it to survive, and yet they're kind of just bumbling on saying that it's advice they've taken, etc. But the thing is, we know they don't take advice. For instance, they were advised that when they revamped the Cornhill, they got rid of the market. They took the market off the Cornhill. But Ipswich Labour didn't take the advice. They want to keep the market stalls on the Cornhill, which, quite frankly, make our Cornhill look untidy. And they'd be better off indoors, like in the Corn Exchange or somewhere. But no, that they don't want that. They want them outside, because that's what the market traders want, and they're friends with Ipswich Labour. So they will keep that there, and they'll just let the town centre rumble on. It's just dying, and I just can't understand why they're just sort of, well, we're just taking advice and being all patronising about it. I really don't get it.
The question hasn't been answered, but I'm going to leave it there because I can see that the tone is one that's I find quite patronising, and so I'm going to leave it for when we have a full debate. However, we won't be moving on this because it's not a magic wand. It's quite feasible to have a smaller town centre, but I'm going to leave it there. Okay, the next one is, how realistic is building 5,500 homes in windfall development without building on back gardens? Because that seems rather a lot to have to find. So that's my next question.
Mr. Hobbs, you want to go somewhere?
Well, we've allocated sites. We've got sites that show that it's possible to build that number of homes on those sites as shown in the maps and in the documentation in this paper.
Can I just add that those 5,500 homes are allocations, the windfall element's 1,800 homes. And then there's a shortfall to be found outside the borough later in the plan period.
Yeah, I did know some would be later outside the borough. Okay, so we're quite confident about that.
Yes, we are, yeah. And at the examination, we'll be tested on the deliverability of those sites. So the inspector will want to see that those sites can actually be delivered in the plan period.
Okay, lovely. Now.
Oh, that was a question was actually answered. I've come over a bit faint after that. Right. Carry on.
Going on to jobs, because we feel that this core strategy is a bit more business growth, align itself with housing. So I know we're talking about the practical side of where these new jobs might go, but how are we going to attract and encourage new jobs alongside supporting businesses?
In terms of planning, the thing that you do is to allocate employment land, and then it makes clear that sites in the town centre for offices, sites at Futura Park for industrial use, which has been, comes there after the John Lewis enabling development, if you like, and that, I guess, welcomes businesses, says that we welcome them coming to these sites for these purposes, and hope that's what follows. In planning terms, that's what we do. In the planning.
Can I just add that we allocate land for employment opportunities. We also work closely with our economic development colleagues, particularly around the economic development strategy, and we're working with the New Anglia Local Enterprise Partnership as well to help implement the strategic economic plan.
I love that, yeah.
And of course we have increased the amount of employment land by moving the land at Ravenswood back from provisional housing back to employment land.
And yet we turned down Morrison's because we think there's going to be this magic building in Westgate. Okay,
Chair,
my last...
a comment, please.
I'm allowed to make a comment, I don't have to ask.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you. That was an application taken at a planning committee meeting, Chair, where, for quite clear policy reasons, we opposed an out of town centre application. Councillor Cenci talked earlier about the importance of town centre uses, about the importance of bringing people into the town centre, and that was exactly the reason that we turned down, the committee turned down the Morrison's application for a site way outside the town centre, because there are sites within the town centre where, if people were to use a Morrison's in the town centre, work in a Morrison's in the town centre, then the economic well-being of the town centre benefits. And it was very clear, and it was the right decision. Supported by...
that sounds very convincing that they actually stopped that development to actually help the town centre. But the trouble is, there is a big flaw in that argument, and it's this. Basically, if the Morrisons put in an application to build a store about 1.5 miles up the road, there would be absolutely nothing Ipswich Borough Council could do about it, and it would still take business from the town centre. So, but the only difference there is that Ipswich Borough Council won't get any business rates for it being there because it will be outside the borough. So there's a big flaw in that, isn't there? The council in Ipswich are not getting any money from Tesco at Copdock Mill in business rates. They're not getting anything from Sainsbury's at Warren Heath in business rates because they're outside the borough. They have an opportunity to get some business rates from a large supermarket and they turn it down. This is just anti-economic development. It was not in the interest of Ipswich to turn the development down. The argument that they're trying to encourage things to happen in the town centre is flawed because, well, as I said, they could just build one 2 miles up the road and it would be like Sainsbury's in Warren Heath or Tesco in Copdock Mill, where nobody pays a thing to the borough council. So it's a loss. And well, when's this Westgate thing going to happen? That's what I want to know. It seems to be, it's just anti-economic development. That's what it is. Anyway, last question.
Ipswich Central in a comment, and they represent town centre retailers.
Your last question, Councillor.
Yeah. The consultation, I think this is a very good report, by the way. It's really easy to read, but it's huge. And I just wondered whether we could be a bit more proactive, because, I mean, if I was sitting at home, you know, we're involved in politics, and I saw this, I'd think, where do I start? How do I begin? So I just wondered how we are proactively taking this into schools. I think geography, history students at A-level would be quite interested in this. Focus groups, that type of thing. Just how we, rather than just throw it out there and expect people to look at it. I spent the whole weekend looking at this and didn't finish it, so...
Chair, I think it's clear that from the consultation, you know, this is the result, isn't it, of consultation first time round. And we do send it to interested groups, like the Northern Fringe Protection Group have responded on sites way beyond and issues beyond the Northern Fringe. Save Our Country Spaces, developers respond, individuals respond where it's been clear that, you know, that it's somewhere near where they live or where they work and they're interested. We did we did have a public exhibition, I think, Mr. Hobbs, didn't we? Public exhibitions, plus we took them to area committees, and we'll do that again. We take to area committees just those sites that are in the locality of the area committee. So I think we really do what we can to bring the bits that are in.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. This is the result of lots of consultation, and you know, we're going to take it to area committees, and you know, and we're going to sit there and we're going to read it all, and you know, I mean, and the public are just going to be going to be absolutely riveted by this report, aren't they? I mean, oh, do come on! I think that they actually make certain reports and things long-winded. To put the public off actually finding out what they're doing, so they can just get on with it and do what they like. But then I am a cynic. Oh gosh, and they're really going to bother. You know, I mean, their planning stuff is all over the place. Their economic stuff is all over the place, and basically, if you have long-winded paperwork and stuff, you can guarantee that most of the public aren't going to bother, and well, it looks like the public don't care, when you know they probably do, but well, it's fine to make it look like they don't. But there you go.